Welcome back to the Elise podcast, where we help women in perimenopause and menopause thrive unapologetically from the inside out. You can hear right now, Rosie's in the background, just decided to drink some water as I hit record on this episode. But I want to talk about intuitive eating today and why I don't love it, even though right now I'm doing it. So let me back up a little bit. I am, at the time of this recording, it is the end of May, 2025. And I am not tracking anything. I'm not following a meal plan. I am 100% intuitive eating and I'm loving it. However, I do not believe in starting with intuitive eating. And I want to just also put a little caveat. The word believe, I want to actually take back and just say, I don't recommend. And the reason being that I've had a lot of women come to me who say, I don't like tracking. It's exhausting. It's fatiguing. It creates obsession, disordered eating. And I am just going to eat intuitively. And I worked with a dietitian or nutritionist who told me that I was becoming very obsessive and I just, I eat to fill my body and then I stop. And then when I need to eat again, I eat again. And then they come to me because they're struggling. They cannot lose weight. So I want to just kind of give you my 2 cents on why I truly feel that when you're starting to lose weight, or even if you just want to maintain your weight, intuitive eating is not the best place to start. So intuitive eating, what does that mean? It means that you are intuitively listening to your body and saying, this is what my body needs. And I, as someone who is so deeply spiritual connected, I understand. I listen to my gut. If I don't physically listen to my own intuition, my gut reacts against me. So when I'm going against something that I know is not right or in alignment with me, I get physical pain in my stomach. It is my superpower and my kryptonite at the same fucking time. So trust me when I say that intuitiveness is so important and cannot be taken for granted. And I'm not saying here, hey, don't listen to your body. But what I am saying is that the body is designed for feast and famine. So we are designed to overeat for survival, and we are also designed to undereat for survival. So if I were to say to you, eat intuitively, you could potentially overeat for the rest of your life and continue to gain weight and feel that that is within your intuition, or you can undereat. All right. So when we talk about your physiology and your biology, it is super important to remember that we have survived as long as we have because we are designed biologically to survive overeating and undereating. And so I've always said this, but if I was out for dinner with a friend of mine, or even if Albert and I are out and he says to me, like, what is this? What is the reason why 60% of the population is overweight and 80% of those are obese? Like, what is the reason for that? And I will 100% of the time say that overeating is so easy to do because we're designed for it. So let's go back into like paleo days where we were, we had to hunt and gather, and then it would be times of war, times of lack of healthy crops or winter, and we had to hibernate. Our bodies were designed to have a very big feast followed by a time of fasting or famine. We didn't have constant access to food, and there wasn't also constant scarcity. There is a balance. So right now, we don't live in those times. Our bodies never got the algorithm upgrade to say, hey, we don't need to overeat anymore. And so like my tip to maintaining your weight is to never buy bigger clothes, is to like, if every single human body at their adult form got their size jeans that is like their ideal body weight. So I'm not saying size 0, but like size 8 even, okay? Or 6, whatever it is. And I said, you once a week have to fit into these jeans. And as they started to get tight, you had to eat less. And if they were too baggy, you had to eat more, then we would be fine. The industry of food makes it so that you can access food anytime. And it also makes it a value equation. When we go out for dinner, and dinners are so bloody expensive now, we want to make sure that we're getting value. Even when you go to McDonald's, even when you go for any other fast food or fine dining, you just want to make sure that you're getting enough value, right? So we are in a world where it's like, hey, let's give you more for less. Or you can go to the convenience store anywhere, the grocery store, and you can just get like more of anything. But what if, like we were only given like a card that was like, this is your meal allotment for the day. And so when you go for lunch, you like scan it and it's like, here you go. You actually only need 500 calories today for lunch, or you only need 750 based on your activity. This is all you get. Then you wouldn't be overeating. All right. Again, we never got this algorithm update in our physiology. So again, today we're designed to overeat. And I would say that most, if not all people, overeat 100% of the time without realizing it. Oh my gosh, you're going to hate me and like tell me that you're different and you're a snowflake, and I get it. But as someone who was a chronic overeater, undereater, I can say that most people who say, I never had a weight problem, I never gained weight, it was likely because anytime your weight started to go up, you just pulled it back a little bit as if you had those jeans in your hand every week. And I say jeans don't lie, right? So you every week when your pants started getting a little tight was like, oh shit, you know what? I'm just going to rein it in a bit. I'm going to eat clean for like a week. And then you fit back into your pants and then you were good to go. But you weren't actually eating, in maintenance. You started to overeat a bit again because overeating is so easy. And when we start with tracking and we, in our program at FFWE, when our clients are ready to leave us, I always say to them like, hey, it would be super helpful if every 6 weeks you tracked for a week so that you have that feedback so you don't overeat again, because it is so dang easy to do. And then we also have like clothes companies like, the Gap, for example. And I used to love shopping at the Gap until I couldn't fit into their clothes anymore. So I used to be like a size small at the Gap. And then I was like an extra small. And then it was an extra, extra small. And I'm like, this is just dumb. Everything looks baggy, big on me. And I'm not a tiny person. Like I would say that like I'm 125 pounds. I'm 5'1", pretty solid in muscle. I'm not skinny by any means, but yet my pant size, somehow stood the same. Even when I was pregnant, my pant size kind of stayed the same. And you got to wonder, like, how is that possible? I gained 50 pounds with my first kid. I gained 30 pounds with my second kid. There's no way my size wouldn't have changed. So here we are thinking, I'm a size 6. I've always been a size 6. Gap told me now I'm a size 4. And now I'm going here. All the sizes are getting bigger and bigger while their actual dress size are getting smaller and smaller, unless, of course, you live in Europe or you have a European style type of clothing make. And then you're like, holy shit, I'm a 14 and I didn't even know that. So let me go back to this because I'm going off trail here. But when we go into intuitive eating, that is saying that you're not going to listen to your primal physiology or need to survive. You're going to go into your feedback loop, right? But how do you know that feedback if you've never actually said it? So I'll give you my example of when I was growing up. Friday night dinners, Shabbat dinners were huge for us. Okay. I rotated. One week my family went to one grandparents' house, and the next week we went to another grandparents' house. And it was just, this was like the best part of my childhood, was that I was close to my grandparents. I was close to my family. I fucking loved this. I never wanted to miss a Shabbat dinner. But I also would never leave the table without my pants undone, ever. To the point where like I never wore jeans because like that's a stupid idea. I truly believe that if I didn't leave feeling full, like uncomfortably full, then I would be hungry. So if you would have asked me then, hey, Elise, I want you to intuitively eat, I would have said that for me, being full means that I've eaten enough. And I remember the day that I went for dinner at my grandmother's house, and instead of being full, I left not full. And it felt so weird. I didn't unbutton my pants. I didn't have a stomach ache and have to run to the washroom when I came home, and I wasn't bloated for 6 days. And I was like terrified as fuck because I'm like, I'm going to wake up starving. Guess what? I didn't. This was me starting to say, hey, if I leave the table not full, so we look at it like satiated is a better way for me to intuitively, quote unquote, eat. But when I started tracking my food and breaking it down and how much my body actually needs to maintain it, it was even less than that. So I mean, leaving the table meant I was a little bit hungry. And what a horrible feeling that is for someone who grew up overeating. All right. Grew up overeating as like the language of love. We have access to food. We are safe. We should be eating. Okay. Because that's what my grandparents grew up. There wasn't enough food on the table. They immigrated from Poland, like right during the war. They had nothing. So the sign of food on the table was like longevity, was life, was wealth. And here I am thinking like, this is how it's supposed to be. Imagine going for dinner at a Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner and leaving a little bit hungry. Like, you probably are like, that's dumb. But I did this every single week. This was my life. This wasn't a once in a while. This was every single week. So if I would just intuitively eat, I wouldn't understand. So tracking macros for me really helped me see what my body actually needed. And it was so much less than what I thought. Now, some of you are going to say to me, but I track everything, and 2,000 calories is like way too much food. There's no way I can eat all that. Like, my maintenance is 1,600 calories. And what I'm going to say is, okay, so the caveat to tracking is like your accuracy in tracking. And I did a whole podcast on that. I'll link that below on, are you tracking accurately and how granular do you have to be? But a lot of times what people think looks like 2,000 calories, they think it's this massive amount of food, where really it's exactly what 1,600 calories looks like. So for me, because I've been very granular in tracking, my maintenance is about 2,400 calories. If I eat 2,000 calories, I am in a deficit. I lose weight quick. So I know that, like, hey, this is kind of where my calorie allotment should be. And I also know that when my pants start to get tight, it's because I am leaving the table either full or like fully satiated. And so sitting in that discomfort of being a little hungry makes it so that an hour later I'm not, because it does take time for the system to catch up and the brain to connect that, like, hey, we're good. Leptin has, entered the house, that hormone that says we're full, you can stop eating now. And ghrelin has calmed down. That's the hunger hormone that says eat more, eat more. All right. So it does take a little time for those hormones to kind of counterbalance each other as you're eating. So if you're like me and you just love to eat and you love volume, and volume's been something that really satisfies you, then it's a little bit depressing and it's a little bit hard kind of rewiring your brain. So after about 3-4 years of tracking, and I'd say 2 years was tracking, like getting even better at it. So like that first, 6 to 12 months of tracking, it was like, I'm kind of accurate. And then it's like, oh shit, no, this is how accurate I have to be. And then my body really started to change. It was so mind boggling for me. It was like something smacked me in the face and was like, shit, no, I was probably eating close to 3,000 calories most days, and then maybe like 1,500 calories other days to counterbalance that. And I was like, this is what it feels like to eat about 2,200 calories every day. My body stayed. And to this day, I really know that feeling. So that's why I'm saying, hey, today I can eat intuitively, because as soon as my body recognizes that it's full, my gut starts to act up. It is like, nope, this is not a feeling we like. This is how we start putting on weight. This is how we stop listening to our gut. I start to have gut distress, dysregulation. I can feel that. All right. Because I've lived, I've eaten, I've breathed it. But I do not feel that starting off in this state is going to make you successful. And I'm sure a lot of dietitians will disagree with me, and that is totally okay. We're allowed to have different opinions. But from my personal experience and from my clinical experience working with clients, even those that come to me and say, but Elise, I hate it. It's obsessive. I don't like tracking. I'm like, I understand. But I can also use the same analogy with tracking a budget. If you're trying to save money and you're like, I don't know where my fucking money goes to every month, and I say to you, all right, it's time to create a budget and stick to it. And every time you spend a penny, I want you to track it. You could say to me, but that's so obsessive. Or I could say, is it, or is it responsible? My son, my youngest kid, Owen, who's currently 12, has type 1 diabetes. He has to track his carbs. He has to enter in his carbs for every single fucking thing he eats for the rest of his life into his insulin pump. Is that obsessive or is that responsible? You tell me. Now, you'd probably say, no, well, that's responsible. He has type 1 diabetes. He has to manage his diabetes. Right. But then I could say the same thing. Hey, girl, you have to be responsible too. You have a responsibility to your body to make sure that you are keeping it as strong and as healthy as possible, so you can show up on this planet, on this earth, with purpose, with passion, and still be able to be mobile and maintain your health, right? That is your responsibility. So you can put whatever belief you want around tracking and say, it's obsessive, it causes disordered eating, or I hate it. And I could say, got it. But we have to flip the script of what that actually means and looks like, because the whole goal of tracking is not to track forever. The goal of tracking your food, whether it's macros, calories, however you want to do it, is so that you understand what your body needs. So eventually you can move into intuitive eating. However, once again, I will say, I do not believe that, or I hate using that word believe. I do not feel that that is the best place to start. You might disagree. You might agree. I'd love to know. Shoot me a comment below or reach out to me on Instagram. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Go ahead and reshare this episode. Tag me, and I will reshare and ask you what you think, because I'd love to know. Of course, if you can leave me a review on the podcast, I'd love that even more. And if you want to see my facial expressions or see my girl Rosie over here drink water at the beginning, then go ahead and check this out on YouTube. Until the next time.